This is a video on the Matias wired aluminum keyboard with RGB lighting. Some background. A few months ago, I picked up a used MacBook Air for casual use. The keyboard that's built into the laptop is pretty good, but I wanted a full-size keyboard to use when using the laptop with a large screen monitor at home. So I went online and picked up this used wired Matias aluminum keyboard for about $20. Now, considering that Matias is selling this keyboard brand new on its website for $99, this seemed like a pretty good deal, but as I'll get into later, this keyboard isn't exactly in 100% working order. Matias sells this keyboard, this backlit RGB keyboard, in two different colors, silver and space gray. This is the silver version here. As you can see, this is a full-size keyboard. The keyboard is built around a piece of aluminum. The keyboard's aesthetic is pretty close to what you get on a regular official Macintosh keyboard. As far as build quality goes, it feels pretty sturdy. If you try to bend it, there's a little bit of flex, not that much. The keys are white and plastic, and as I mentioned, this also comes in space gray. If you get the space gray one, the keys are going to be darker. The keys use scissor switches. They're definitely tactile, like most scissor switch keyboards. Now, focusing solely on key feel. Comparing this to the Apple Magic keyboard, I really prefer the feel of this keyboard actually, and that's mainly because of this the keys have a larger amount of key travel. If you press a key down all the way, it goes down about 2 millimeters in total. This is a lot more than the Apple Magic keyboard, which, if I understand correctly, only travels about 1 millimeter. I don't have an Apple Magic keyboard to compare this to here, but I did type on one a couple of days ago, and the small key travel distance on the Magic keyboard really made my fingers hurt. Of course, these things are subjective, and given time I'd probably get used to it, but overall I prefer typing on keyboards with more key travel. And in my opinion, the 2 millimeters that you get on this keyboard is a lot more comfortable to type on compared to the 1 millimeter that you get on the Apple Magic keyboard. For reference, this is a comparison of key travel on this keyboard versus some other popular keyboards. Now as for the keys are pretty stable. Unlike the keys on the MacBook Air that I bought, these don't move around very much when you rub your fingers across them. The keys are pretty quiet, except for the spacebar. Spacebar is a little bit louder. I'll put up a little quick typing test so you can get a feel for the sound. Now this keyboard was made specifically for the Mac, so if you take a look at the function keys, it comes with all the Mac specific functions that you get on most other Mac keyboards, such as F3, which will pull up your dashboard. F4 will pull up the launchpad. F7 through F12 are the media keys. Next to F12, there's a backlight key, and I'll talk about this more in a bit. Overall, there's 19 different function keys. Now, next to the delete and home keys at the top here, where the insert key would be on most other keyboards, there's a FN little function key. The letters F and J have those little notches, so if you're touch typing, you can keep your fingers aligned where they're supposed to go. The caps lock key has a dedicated light. There is no numlock key because unlike PC keyboards, the numpad here doesn't have any secondary functions. Now if you turn the keyboard around, you'll see that the aluminum sheet is actually fairly thin. In fact, the entire back side of this keyboard is covered by this white plastic cover. Now, a handy feature, this keyboard does come in with a built-in USB-A port. Unlike Matias' mechanical keyboards, there's only a single USB-A port. If I'm not mistaken, most of Matias' mechanical keyboards come with 3 USB-A ports, and I've always found that feature to be pretty handy. One thing to be aware of, I'm not sure what it is about this specific USB-A port, but I've noticed that if I stick a USB dongle or some other thing into this port, the port holds onto it pretty tightly. I kind of have to pull it pretty hard to get it out of the port. On the back here, there is a little knob here that's used to control the the RGB backlighting color. Okay, so I've turned the light off in the room so you can kind of get a feel of what the backlight looks like. There's a knob in the back of the keyboard that you can use to control the color. This is the range of color as you move the knob to the right. So you have actually quite a lot of choices to choose from. Let me turn it back to the left. The unfortunate part of this backlight is that you don't get that colorful rainbow RGB effect that you get on some keyboards. The color you pick is the same throughout the keyboard. Although some people might say that's a good thing, because I understand from watching other YouTube videos that many people find this kind of thing distracting. The good thing though is that the backlight is bright, it looks nice, and by setting a specific color, you can also control how much blue light you're exposed to. This can come in handy if you're working at night and you want to be able to get to sleep easily after you finish your work. If you have the backlight set to white, you're being exposed to the most amount of blue light. You can reduce the amount of blue light that you're exposed to by shifting the color to a softer white or yellow. You can also set the keyboard to red to be exposed to the least amount of blue light. The less blue light you're exposed to, the easier you'll be able to sleep after using the keyboard at night, since the blue part of the spectrum interferes with your body's melatonin levels. You can adjust the brightness of the keys using the backlight key that I pointed out earlier. If you hold it down and you tap numbers 1 through 0, the more to the left you go, the lower the intensity of the backlight. So this is 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and that's the maximum. Looking at the back side of this keyboard, you can see that there are 4 rubber feet that will keep the keyboard steady or still on the table while you're typing. If you look along the edge of between the aluminum backplate and the plastic backing, you'll see that there are these plastic brackets that keep the plastic backing attached to the aluminum plate. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brackets on both the top and the bottom of the keyboard, so 12 altogether. I haven't tried to take this keyboard apart, so I don't know what the internals look like. This is a wired keyboard. The cord is advertised to be 5 feet long, but when I measured mine, it came out just short of 5 feet. Specifically, it measured 57 inches when I measured mine. The cord is designed to be used with a USB-A port. But Matias now sells these keyboards with a USB-C adapter, so you can use this keyboard on newer Macs with no problem. Unfortunately, I don't have the adapter here to show you. Now, as I mentioned before, this keyboard is sold on Matias's website for $99. I'll link to it below, but I actually bought this keyboard secondhand for about 20 bucks, which should be a great deal, right? Unfortunately, this keyboard comes with some chattering issues. Several of the keys register multiple times when you tap them, and there's other keys that only register about half the time. Interestingly, this seems to only happen when I'm connected to a Mac. So I'm not sure if it's a software issue or something. If I connect this keyboard up with my PC, the keys register perfectly. And unfortunately, although this keyboard works fine when it's hooked up to a PC, the specialized Mac function keys just kind of get in the way if you're using Windows, so I'm probably not going to be keeping this keyboard. Overall, putting aside the chattering key registration issues, the keyboard's fine. I generally prefer typing on a keyboard with more key travel, but as far as scissor switch keyboards go, this Matias keyboard is pretty adequate. The RGB is nice. Although I like wireless keyboards, sometimes it's nice to be able to just plug a keyboard into a computer and just begin using it immediately without having to take the time to configure Bluetooth or worry about losing a USB dongle. The extra USB port in the back is handy, although as the world switches to USB-C, this port may become less useful over time. On the other hand, $99 seems to be a pretty steep price for a scissor switch keyboard, even one as nice as this one. But I still prefer this over the Apple Magic keyboard, mainly because of well, for one thing, a full-size Magic keyboard costs about $200, so a $99 keyboard is a bargain compared to that, even when you consider that this keyboard isn't wireless. But if you consider the existence of other alternatives like Matias's own wireless full-size scissor switch keyboard, which is comparable in price, I have a hard time recommending this keyboard. And like I said, I got this keyboard for about 20 bucks, although it's not in 100% working condition. If you look around online, you'll probably find a good deal if you want to pick one of these up. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. That's the end of this review.